Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to this 8th teaching video on the Mahamudra prayer of the third Karmapa. And today's teaching is about verse 6. Verse 5 that we saw last time was a prayer that during our path, in this life, and in future lives to come, we would have wisdom. It was a prayer for wisdom, and you'll remember it was the 3 steps of pranja. Now actually, we're not praying for wisdom as though wisdom was something that could come to us, and we're asking for it. If you look back, what we were praying for is to have the correct tools, the correct skills, so that we can gain wisdom, which can never come from the outside into us, but can only come from the inner workings of our understanding and grow in us as we mature and wake up and become clearer and less confused. And those 3 tools were being able to study sufficiently, and then once we have the information, being able to reflect on it properly so that we draw the right conclusions, and then we meditate and still our mind, so that through years and years of experience, the Dhamma we've understood becomes us. We become it. Not some meditation state that we want to reach, but our mind becomes one with Dhamma. So we're praying to have the skills of wisdom in the future. And in this verse, the 6th verse, we are praying for the right path. So once we have the wisdom, we want to be following the right path. And let me read you the verse straight away. Free from the extremes of eternalism and nihilism, the point of the basis is the 2 truths, through which the supreme path of the 2 accumulations, free from the excesses of asserting and denying, gives the result, the good of oneself and others, free from the extremes of existence and quiescence. May I meet this unerring teaching of no mistake. Now this verse is super packed. There is so much in it. Oh goodness me, there could be 10 or 12 different videos just explaining this verse, but we need to keep it simple. It's about the 3 main aspects of our Vajrayana journey, which are called the basis, the ground, and then the path, and then the fruition. The basis is about the basic working material. For instance, if you wanted to extract silver from silver ore, you need the ore. You won't get it from something else. You need the basic working material that contains what you need to get out of it. Famous example is sesame oil. If you don't have sesame seeds, then you won't be able to get sesame oil. Sesame seeds have the oil. Or milk. Milk has the potential for butter. So like that, we have our mind, which is our working material in Mahamudra. That is the basis, the basic material we're working on. And in the first line, we're seeing we need to understand mind properly. And in particular, in the light of the Buddha nature teachings given to us by Maitreya and the Sangha, the very famous Buddha nature texts. And what we want to avoid in our understanding of this raw material, your mind, my mind, is to either exaggerate and turn mind or reality into something it's not. And the other extreme is to underestimate mind and everything that is possible within it. So a correct understanding, which is sometimes called the view, it means our view of what's all this about. What are we? What is life? It's based on mind. All of life that manifests to us is an experience of our mind. And we need to be very clear about that. And then once we're working on the mind, then how are we working? We are working on a path which is called developing the two accumulations. We need the basic goodness of kindness, kind deeds, pure moral, ethical actions in our dealings with each other. And as long as we're exposed to life in all of its variety, then to be building up more and more positive karma, which gives us the power in this life later and in future lives to be able to help others and to bring together auspicious circumstances so that we can do what needs to be done. If we don't have that power of goodness, which is called punya or merit, then we're like somebody who is poor, and no matter how much they long to be in a good place themselves or to help others, they are just struggling to eke out an existence. So we need a path which develops those two accumulations of punya. But then, on the other hand, we need, as we saw in the last verse, wisdom. And this particular wisdom is to understand the voidness of all that we're doing on a relative level. The fact that it is all so much like a dream, like an illusion, that does not in any way undermine its importance. As Taisitupa says so beautifully, I'm dreaming you, you're dreaming me. But it's very important that I respect your dream. We respect each other's dreams and do all we can to make each other's dreams as happy, as free of suffering, as wise, as kind, as pure as possible. So we need a path that has the two accumulations. As we work on our mind, we are building up the goodness of the mind and the relative ultimate wisdom. So it's called the path. It's based on these two truths. How things are relatively in a world of duality where I exist, where you exist, transiently, interdependently. And to never lose sight of the fact of all the time, each moment our mind is witnessing, experiencing, relating in this dualistic world of self and other, self and the world, that the nature is the pure nature of mind, the Buddha nature, with its perfect love and with its wonderful clarity of wisdom and with its power to reach out and help any being whose heart is open to that. So if we are cultivating our mind with these two accumulations of goodness and wisdom, then that mind, the nature of which we've understood, will eventually become Buddha. So what do we mean by Buddha? And we see the result is what is called the supreme nirvana. Not the little nirvana, which is the arhat's peace, which is sort of a halfway house to nirvana for some people, but instead the nirvana of a Buddha. That nirvana is not stuck in some otherness of a total peaceful mind, because it's all about mind. But neither is that peace in any way caught up in worldliness. So it's free from samsara and nirvana. Samsara, the mind is not caught up in worldliness. It's not involved, it's not attached, it's not deluded in any way. But then it is not off in some peace, somewhere else, something other, somewhere other which is so peaceful and removed that anyway the world does not exist for it. So this is an incredibly subtle, profound understanding of our Kagyu tradition. What is the Buddha's mind that can be so compassionately engaged with all existence, but at the same time not suffer and be the most peaceful possibility of mind ever? That is the result. And in fact, that result is not somewhere else. It's not a heaven. It's not some other state that's achieved. It is to actually bring to life the true nature of the mind, which is the basis. So in Vajrayana, this is known as taking the result as your path, from the very beginning, in the understanding of the basis. You know you are Buddha, that your mind is basically pure, that just now we're in a state like sleep and dream. But just like a dreamer waking up, any moment we can become our true selves. Kindness, total peace, beautiful clarity of wisdom, and all of the 64 key Buddha qualities. It's there all of the time. So this prayer, this verse 6, is expressing that. And today, I think we have time to consider the first line about the correct understanding of the basis. Correct understanding of mind. And that understanding should not exaggerate. So that's the exaggeration is called the extreme of eternalism or realism, where we make mind into a someone or a something, a fixed entity. God, for instance. So as Buddhists, we don't believe that the ultimate truth of everything is a being, a God. And we don't turn the ultimate state of our mind that we'll discover step by step through Mahamudra meditation into a being, a God, which is other than ourselves. Or a something, as in many Indian schools, they didn't have necessarily a person, God, but they had an idea of infinite potentials in kind of a cosmic womb, Purusha and things like this. So at the time of Buddha, and afterwards in the time of the great Buddhist teachers, like Shantideva and so on, then establishing the Buddhist view of ultimate truth, ultimate reality, involved mainly a debate between the middle way Buddhist view, on the one hand, and the non-Buddhists that were around at the time, and also the Buddhists who had, for instance, the Shravaka view. And when we study this at length, then it is comparative religion, it is philosophy in terms of a correct conceptual understanding of the view. So one extreme is to make the ultimate truth of you and of me and of everything into a somebody, a something. And through meditation, dealing with the mind, moment by moment, what will happen is we'll learn to transcend any narrative whereby we are telling ourselves a story about mind, about God, mind as though it had a capital M, and so on. We transcend that narrative into the reality of mind each moment. The other extreme is not to exaggerate the mind and fix it into something or someone, but to underplay or deny the power, the beauty, the innate morality, the strength of karma that is in mind. So this might be, for instance, these days, a person, an everyday person who has a sort of basic idea of science and who thinks that everything is just brain, activity of the brain, different sectors of the brain, releases of chemicals and so on, but who does not think there is any underlying moral force, so that if we harm each other or help each other, there are consequences of that. It's just whatever happens in the moment. Of course, somebody's hurt, somebody's helped, but there is no idea of karma. There is no idea of the power of karma on the mind that we're trying to understand, and how that power will make the doer of helpful, kind deeds a better person in the future with fortunate circumstances. And there is no appreciation of how in hurting each other and in damaging our own beautiful Buddha potential, the repercussions will come back and damage us in the future as suffering experiences of one sort or another, and inner turmoil and confusion. So this underplaying of the power of karma, cause and effect, this underplaying of the basic moral, ethical nature of reality, and then beside that, what you might call the grace, and that we find in Vajrayana, the enormous power of, for instance, Tara, or Medicine Buddha, or any of the forms that we become familiar with, to manifest. And those who have those experiences are bowled away by the inner perfection, the great perfection, and the beauty of mind. So to deny all of that, we can say nihilists, deniers, is the other extreme. And of course you can be a good Buddhist with that kind of attitude. Just every day you've decided on your own moral code and you want to be kind to other people just for the sake of being kind and so on. But in terms of a view and an understanding, it means we are not really understanding who we are and how this cosmos works. And Mahamudra is there in order to correct that ignorance. Ignorance. We ignore what all of this is about. We ignore this life's opportunity. So that understanding, getting that fine balance, and especially as your meditation experience matures, and you have the still mind, and you are developing insight, you're having profound meditation experiences called nyam in Tibetan. We want to benefit from those experiences so that out of the nyam, the changing experiences day after day, year after year, we get what is called tok, realization, which is a clarity of understanding of mind, which will never let you down, and which becomes clearer and clearer until in the end you are Buddha. Now, I'm thinking that that is maybe enough for today. This verse is very dense. And once we go into the following verses, it's a whole series of verses, and the next section is all about making the path as good and as useful as it can be. So although those verses also have a lot in them, this one is the prelude to the path. We are describing in general, as an overview, the path we want to follow and praying for it. This understanding of the basis, this mind that we are working with, is embodied in the two truths. Now, just as the four truths, often called the four noble truths, or the four truths of realized beings, is so important in Theravada Buddhism. In Mahayana, what are called the two truths, how things are relatively, how they manifest moment by moment through interdependence, and then ultimately where that relative manifestation is happening in your mind. And what is mind ultimately is Buddha. And these two are not separate. Every moment the Buddha nature of mind is there. Every moment the relative manifestation is there. Like a dreamer. The dreamer's always there, the person, but as long as they're dreaming, then the reality of the dream is what predominates the mind. So today, having understood that, let's stop here. And in the next video, we'll look at the path of the two accumulations. Well, thank you very much. Meditate well, my friends, and see you soon. Thank you so much.